Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I'm your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host of Latina flavor, Alicia Garza.
Hello.
Also joining us today, the very beautiful Jack.
Hi there.
And the man with the chatty dogs, Patrick Sullivan.
Heyo.
And our special guest tonight from Survivor Cook Islands, probably the best Survivor player in terms of talking to his fans and being just all around amazing, the one, the only, Billy Garcia. Woo!
Hey guys, thanks for having me back again.
And real quick, Billy, you mentioned earlier that you did have a toy doll of yourself. Are you the only Survivor player that has a toy doll? Or is there a Rudy Bosch doll? Because I feel like there is.
I really don't know if there's any that exist today that's for sale, but it was not an original idea. Let's just say guys like Fairplay and Rupert pioneered this idea long before I ever even had my shot at Survivor.
Well, if I had to pick out of any doll to get, it would be yours. Because yours would do the best thing. It's my Batman action figure. That would be a cool little duo. But anyways, we have so much to talk about. It was another fantastic episode of Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. Let's just take a moment and just be happy that Joe is... Oh, and Alicia wants to mourn over Joe. I'm celebrating. But anyways, let's go to a neutral third party first. Jack, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine.
Okay, you're doing just fine. So the question
That
I'm
doesn't
going to
sound
start...
neutral.
Kind
I'm
of
going to
neutral.
start this episode
What's
by
neutral?
asking about... He's indifferent. Same thing. Anyways, Jack. Beginning of the episode, we saw Spencer doing the whole thing where he's like, okay, I got to put together the pieces. What in the world is Spencer's endgame? Because I still can't connect it.
I think, because I remember last episode, he kind of felt like he got burned by Jeremy, the tribal council before when he played the idol. So I think last Trouble he talked about how he was just kind of doing his own thing. So I don't really know if he was thinking that far in advance because he kept thinking like, oh, I have to make this big move. And I think he was just too focused on that big move because foreshadowing later on in this episode, it kind of made some problems with the numbers. So I think he was just living in the moment and not really thinking rounds ahead.
And does anyone want to echo that sentiment?
He's
Billy?
just running those voting blocks to the end.
That's true. Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
I think this reminded me a lot of Wu in his season with Tony, that he just waited and waited and waited to make a big move and never did. And Spencer didn't wait. He felt the pressure to do a big move and start building a resume, and so that was the point of this move, in my opinion, was just to have a resume, so he could have something to say at the end.
Yeah, I think that's
But what
exactly it. I think he's resume building for the end and not thinking, well, in order to present my resume, I've got to be sitting at the end.
Exactly. And that's where I completely agree with you, because he has this idea that, oh, I can totally work with Abby and Wentworth. They'll take me to the end, which we all know the moment Jeremy's gone, or even any chance they get, Wentworth and Abby are taking Spencer out because Spencer's a huge threat to win.
I'm sorry, the moment you think, oh, I can totally work with Abby is the moment that you're just screwed because no one can work with Abby and be like safe and 100% about it.
And I agree with you 100% on that. So, Spencer did, though, make that final three with Jeremy and Tasha. And tonight, they did all vote together. So is that actually going to be a voting block or alliance? Or was that just, a breath of smoke for this episode? Anyone can comment on this.
Well, I think that Tasha and Jeremy were always going to stick together, and it just never had that third person. But Spencer doesn't know what he wants to do. So if he doesn't know what he wants to do, how are we going to predict what he's going to do? So I don't see, I like Spencer a lot. I've been rooting for him for the majority of the season. But it feels like he's like taking shots in the dark at this point.
I mean,
Yeah, I think we could all agree on
Tasha
that.
did definitely vote with Jeremy and Spencer, but she also voted with all of the girls because pretty much, everyone but Keith voted for Joe? So that's not totally saying anything that she voted with them because she voted with everyone.
And that's true. And Alicia, I guess as a girl, you're the perfect person I can talk to with about this.
Aren't
The
I
All-Girls Alliance. We have Kimmy going up to Kelly Wentworth and Natasha saying, hey, let's all girl power. Let's all be, strong females once we get Joe out. Which, let's take a moment to realize the irony of this, because Kimmy voted out Monica really early in the season for saying let's have an all-girls alliance, and now suddenly Kimmy's all for it. But Alicia, as a girl, is Tasha gonna work with Kimmy, or what's just going on with that? Can you dissect that for us? Can you analyze it?
I think Kimmy's realizing she's voted in the minority so many times that she's realizing she needs to give herself more options than she's previously given herself if she has any hope of getting to the end, because she's realizing, well, my strategy of sticking with these two people might not get me all the way, so I need to try and give myself more options.
You know what, Colin? The way it came off to me was it's like if you let's put ourselves in a situation. Let's say, Colin,
Okay.
you came up to me and said, "Hey, Billy, it'd be a good idea to have you on my podcast," and I'd say, "That's a stupid idea." But you know what we should do? You know what we should do? We should put me in the podcast. That's the way it came off.
True. But is Kimmy also just trying to resume build? Because to me, it's a little too late. A little too late. Is that what you're trying to do?
I think she just found herself on the short end of the stick, and
I don't even think it's resume building. I think she's just kind of like, oh shit, if I have any hope of getting to the end, I've gotta get some stuff rolling.
yeah, she was falling off a cliff, and now just decided to try to grab onto a branch.
Just finally grab on. And Alicia, do you actually think though Tasha would jump onto the All Women's Alliance? Because I don't think she would, and I think other people here would also disagree with you on that.
I don't know. I mean, remember that she has felt betrayed by that guy's old Bayan alliance before. Like, they have voted without her, and she said, you know what? You get one chance, and that was it. And so you have to think in the back of your mind, yeah, Tasha might trust them a lot, but they still have burned her in the past. So I don't know. If she kind of gets a little paranoid feeling again, that might be happening, she might end up jumping ship if she feels like it's going to better her game and, her standing in the game.
And Patrick, do you think Tasha could make... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just look at it as, what are her options? Her options are Kimmy and Abby or Jeremy and Spencer. I don't know how you guys see it, but I see that as a one-sided option.
Yeah. There's no
true.
choice.
That's what I was going to say, is that would she rather be sitting with Abby and Kimmy, or go with these, guys that have made moves and are seen as threats and everything?
And are eloquent and are charismatic and can definitely, show what they've done at a tribal.
So we're all saying big picture, a little bit of foreshadowing of what we saw in the preview of next week's episode, which was Spencer and Jeremy are on the outs. What's going to happen? Maybe Tasha is just like, hey, you know what, you guys? Screw you. You're being voted out next. Is that what we think is going to happen?
I think Tasha might try to ride the line between the two and maybe target someone like Keith next tribal. So she still has Jeremy and Spencer and still sticks with the girls and delays her inevitable decision one further round.
Well, let me ask all four of you guys a question. Now that Joe's out, who's going to be the challenge monster?
Keith.
Spencer.
Whoa, different answers.
I would have said Jeremy,
Yes.
but...
3 different answers. All right,
I was
Alicia.
thinking Jeremy too, but Tasha's I don't know. They're all pretty good except for Abby and Kimmy.
That's true. They are very good. And I guess from just a television standpoint, having Joe out of the game is just entertaining because now immunities are really up in the air because, as we've all pointed out, I think every single one of them besides Kimmy have actually won an individual immunity before. I mean, Abby even won one in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting.
Well, Kimmy never made it that far, so that's and with Joe in the game, who was gonna win? But so we don't really know what Kimmy can do, even though she didn't look good in this last immunity challenge. She
was good at the beginning, but she gassed out real quick because she was first to the spinning thing.
The spinning thing I think got her. I think all these months later she might still be spinning.
She watches that challenge and gets some vertigo. So Billy, I want to talk with you a little bit. Who would have been your loved one during your season? Would it have been your mom who put the curse on JP?
On Ozzy, actually, but on Ozzy. Well, actually, all three of them.
Sorry.
Ozzy, JP, and Cecilia. But no, she threatened to hit Ozzy with a brick in her purse, and so she wasn't allowed to come to the finale.
I mean, I want to hit
What?
Ozzy too, so don't. I mean, I understand the feeling of that.
That's wild.
That is wild. That is wild because she would have done it. It was not an idle threat.
Let's put your mom on the show.
Yeah, she does Santeria, so yeah, that curse was legit. Who would have been my loved one? It would have been a toss up between my sister or my cousin Cisco. Both of them are like super, big Survivor fans. My sister's a bigger Survivor fan than Cisco, but Cisco, he's like a very much a Richard Hatch guy. So he would have came in and immediately tried to play amongst the loved ones. But looking at how they had returning players as loved ones for the first time ever, if I'd have known that in advance, who knows, man? I probably would have went with like somebody who's like a challenge monster just in case they would have made him play.
You would have had Ozzy as your loved one, right? Or is it still not? You guys still have that.
I wouldn't trust Ozzy to come in sober. That dude just loved to smoke the ganja.
And speaking of which, quick plug, if you want to hear Johnny Fairplay talk about the time he smoked pot with Ozzy before Survivor Micronesia started, be sure to listen to my interview, which is way, way back in the archives for the Survivor org podcast, which is what it was called back then. So anyways, we get the Loved Ones Challenge. Now, in the most recent seasons, the Loved Ones Challenge has been taking place around like the Final 5 or the Final 4. Quick poll. Do we like the challenge, Loved Ones Challenge taking place this early at Final 8, or do we like it when it's down to the Final 4 or 5? Jack?
I think earlier is better.
Okay, Billy?
I think earlier is better, but I would rather see the loved ones get involved in the challenge.
I have the exact same
Alicia?
opinion as Billy, for sure. I like that more survivors get to have that like really incredible experience and like make the memory with their loved one. But I loved the seasons where the loved ones were actually involved in the challenge because it was just kind of exciting to see like how they did. They were just like new people. It was interesting.
And we did have that iconic moment where Probst told Cochran told Probst not to make fun of his mom. Patrick, what's your feelings on it? Loved ones early on or loved ones?
I totally echo everything Alicia said. I love seeing them play. And sometimes you have like the really, really good challenge threat and their loved one is just terrible and it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a loved one flip things upside down like Lori did with Chris Doherty in Survivor Vanuatu.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She won him that game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, and I agree with you. And then even the girls, Twyla and Scout. And if you want to listen to their interviews, I have them both on the Survivor org YouTube page. They had both actually mentioned that they felt bad for Chris, and that's what spared him that one round. And that, of course, was what led him to winning the whole series or that whole season. Now, I agree with you guys because to me, when it's like the finale, I want to be in game mode. I don't want to cry over loved ones. And I don't know. It's just from personal preference. I think we all agree it's better to have him then. Alicia, you want to jump in?
And not only is it better to have him then, I like the way it was done this time where the winner actually gets to enjoy the loved one without feeling the guilt of, oh, but if I give it up, everyone else gets the loved one and I just don't. Like, I like that it's, oh, you get to win and you get to pick people. That to me is a way better way of handling it.
And Billy, I would love your opinion on this because I think everyone here has heard my little rants about how much I absolutely hate that whole, oh, you win the challenge? Okay, now either give everyone loved ones or just like they did in Caramone, okay, pick someone to go with you. Okay, now pick, do everyone else get it or do you get to screw over you and Don? And, we saw how that affected Brenda's game. That was just a giant mess, and I hate decisions like that.
That was the worst.
But Billy, that was the worst. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, my opinion is I hate when you have to screw yourself and a loved one over to not screw yourself and everybody else's loved one over. I think that's like basically you're handing somebody a gun and saying, okay, for this challenge we're playing Russian roulette. Good luck.
And I've always viewed it as a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because let's say you say, hey, guys, no, I'm seeing my loved one, they're going to hate you because, oh my God, he took his loved one. But if you say, hey guys, here are your loved ones, everyone's going to hate you because they go, oh my God, this person's such a jury threat because he let us see their loved ones. It's just completely unfair in my opinion.
I liked...
Go ahead.
And Token Chains when Taj had the option of taking her loved one to exile and everyone else got theirs to back at camp.
Yeah, that was a very happy medium.
Everyone
But
was
there's something I
open-minded.
wanted to say. If you look way back in all of Survivor history, to the best of my knowledge, only one person who has ever won the Loved One Challenge has actually gone on to win the game, and that was Mike from last season. So people talk so much about a car curse. I strongly believe there's a loved one curse. And Patrick, I'm sorry, but if you're my loved one, when I play Survivor Season 34, I'm throwing the challenge. I don't see a single benefit to actually winning the challenge. Do you guys agree with me? Would you all throw the challenge, or what would you do?
I'll take the free trip to Samoa. Definitely.
Well, Fair Play had a plan. That worked out okay.
Yeah,
Good point.
can't argue with that.
Yeah, maybe if you should plan something with your loved one before the game instead of just doing what we've been seeing every season since, which is just the loved one shows up and it's great to see you, and then nothing really else comes of it.
Yeah, you gotta start playing Survivor
Patrick.
before you play Survivor, and then maybe
Exactly.
it'll work out for you.
So, Patrick, what you gotta do is you gotta come on and be like, hey, Colin, the podcast lost half of its subscribers. And then I'll be all teary eyed and everyone feels sympathy for me. Right?
All right, come on.
All right. So, I guess the one huge lingering question we have to talk about the family visits. We all love it. We all think it's great. We all hate the stupid decisions with it. Where in the world was Wesley? I am so upset about the lack of Wesley.
I thought he was going to come out, but then when it was his wife, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he was probably having chicken wings.
Alicia, did you want to...
No, I don't know. I don't have as much to say about Wesley as I do, like, how awkward would it be if they're like, if Jeff is like, who would you like to see? And you name someone and then it's like not that person that runs out. Like with Spencer and his girlfriend, I was like, oh, but what if it's not her? Like, I don't know.
If I was like, I want to see Patrick and it's just you, Alicia, that would just be like awful.
Why, Billy, do you have
Anyways.
to give like production a list of people or like one or two people before you're, going on the show, or how does that work?
It's a list of 3.
Okay.
Yeah, production Survivor Brass loves the number 3. It's always 3. You said you said 3. Give them 3 shirts, 3 shorts, and they pick one of each. You give them 3 loved ones, 3 luxury items, and they pick one of each. And they love the number 3. I don't know what it is about 3.
Gives
They
them
even
some
changed-
reaction.
Would you ever consider doing anything like really ridiculous for your 3 luxury items? Being like, okay, this one's one MRE, this one's a steak dinner, this one's a book of matches. Okay, go ahead and pick one.
Actually, they give you guidelines. And my luxury item was the silver medal I won in the national championships in Greco-Roman wrestling, and they do that sort of thing on purpose because they don't want it to be something that you could use to survive with. They want it to use something socially, like JP's was supposed to be the only picture he had of his mother. And so now that's the gateway of him getting sympathy and saying, this is the only picture I have of my mother who died when I was young. And so that was that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
If I'd have had my silver medal, then it'd been like, see, I can compete. I can't compete on a national level. I'm going to help this tribe, win challenges. Look, this is my silver medal at the national championships. How many of you can say that you're a pro athlete at something?
Nope.
So,
I mean-
yeah.
Maybe napping. I am a pro napper.
Pro napper. Yeah, that
For
doesn't work out for me.
sympathy,
I
I think for sympathy, I would bring a copy
I
of
have
like
a
my
quick
bank
question, I guess,
statement.
about the luxury items now. Sorry, Colin, I'm cutting you off. Taking
go
over. Okay, so I heard that, I think it was Penner, that his luxury item was like contacts or like contact solution. Is that true? Or like, if you're wearing glasses or contacts, is that okay for you to have on the island and they're not going to like begrudge you like some contact solution?
Now, over by the first aid section is everybody's like medication or whatever else. Like if you have contacts, you'll have the contact solution. Feminine products for the women. Quick story, really, really quick story. We were freezing in the Cook Islands because it was winter in the Cook Islands. It's below the equator, so summer up here, winter down there. So we went over and they had a garbage bag, a hefty garbage bag for the feminine products. we stole the garbage bag and stuck them underneath the pond fronds so we could sleep on top of the garbage bags and not directly on the floor. So yeah, every night we were stealing the garbage bag to put it underneath the pond fronds and then putting it back before production like wakes up or whatever. They just have the cameras running without anybody monitoring them. So one day we went to go steal the garbage bag, and of course, one of the women had to use it for their feminine products. No more garbage bag. Yeah, so that put Christina in the doghouse, by the way. I don't know how she got out of it and put me in the doghouse, but yeah.
Well, now we know why Christina did eventually get voted out, though. We now understand that. Okay,
yeah.
So
you heard it here first.
the ultimate scoop.
I don't know how that storyline would play out on TV.
That would be an awkward one to have. You know, Jeff Probst saying, and you'll never believe what happens to the feminine products next week on Survivor. So Kelly Wentworth won the reward challenge, and she picked Abby, Keith, and Kimmy. If Kelly Wentworth was at all serious about an all-women's alliance with all-women alliance, why in the world did she not pick Tasha? Anyone can jump in on this. What was her rationale with picking Abby, Keith, and Kimmy?
To not be obvious, I think.
I mean, she didn't even pick him in that order. She picked Keith first. She didn't even pick Abby, her closest ally, first. Which, I mean, maybe that's just not the thing you're doing anymore since, Fishback was saved by Jeremy and didn't even pick Jeremy first for the reward.
Yeah.
So,
I think she overplayed. She tried not to be obvious of who she's with, and it's just an overplay, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, everyone knows she's with Abby. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Good point. Does anyone else want to add to that? Or do we all just kind of agree it was her a little bit trying to overplay?
Maybe she was trying to create a new voting block. I don't know. That seems to be the trend this season.
The trend. And it's also your trend. That's like all that you're bringing. Patrick's all
I'm just going to say this. If there's a pagonging next season, I'm going to laugh my butt off. I'm throwing that out there. I think that would be hilarious. Right. After all this talk of voting blocks and how the game's changed so much. If next season, Tribe A just completely decimates Tribes B.
Hey, you want to talk about game changing? And JP Calderon, he actually changed the game. We had I mentioned that area with the first aid section. We had a suntan lotion out there all the seasons from mine and before. Suntan lotion. And JP decided, in his brilliance of whatever, he put his initials J and P on each pack. J on one pack and P on the other pack with the suntan lotion. And there's a picture of it on my Facebook, by the way, of that. And that entire day's worth of filming had to be thrown away because they didn't want the J and the P on his chest and then have to explain that's suntan lotion that we get, and that we get all this extra stuff behind the scenes. So that entire day's worth of filming
that's hilarious.
Is gone, yeah. So no more suntan lotion ever again on Survivor. That would have been your best
moment, Billy.
Wow.
Oh, that is silly. Okay.
Yeah. If you guys remind me, I'll send you.
I don't have a good...
Please do.
If you guys, I'll send you the picture.
I much like that picture. And I don't have that good of a follow-up to that. I do want to go ahead and actually... Let's discuss the immunity challenge. Let's jump a little bit ahead in the future. This is an immunity challenge we've seen time and time again. We saw it, I believe we saw it first in Samoa, correct? Where Russell beat Brett and, sent his ass out of the game. We've seen it repeated in Redemption Island and in a whole bunch of other cases. I guess what I want to bring up is, how did everyone feel about there being 2 immunity necklaces? Because I feel like in the final 8, that's way too late in the game to be giving out 2 immunities. And how do people feel about gendered immunity wins? Because for me, in a challenge like this, it should just be first and second place because gender doesn't really seem to matter. Let's go ahead, let's discuss this, and anyone can pick this up.
I generally don't like when they give out multiple immunities, especially considering there's two idols out there as well. So there's potential that 4 people out of the 8 could have theoretically been immune. So I just think having one immunity, it's supposed to be an individual challenge. Only one person wins, and I think that's how it should always be.
I think normally when they do challenges where you're having to be a lot more physical, like challenges where you're using your arms to hold really heavy things up, I think a lot of the time it'll be adjusted by body weight so that it's like fair across all people.
Yes.
But with these polls and this idol like balancing, like they're not going to give the girls lighter polls than the guys just because they happen to weigh less, or they're not going to give smaller guys like less heavy polls. And so I think that's kind of their way of trying to make it fair for everyone competing. Not saying that it necessarily is. And I think that's the way of maybe justifying not just like another straight balancing.
I would say just don't create that challenge. If it's unfair if it's a gender biased challenge, don't create it. Don't use it. I don't like the idea from the final 10 on. If you do it like as the very first at the final 12, all right, it's the very first at the final 12. It's, anything could happen. But from the final 10 on, the reason why I don't like it is just because, like Jack was saying, let's say two people you have two hidden immunity idols, so two people you can protect, two different immunity necklaces. That's 4, and then on a tie vote, the two people that got voted on, if it gets tied twice, they don't choose rocks. So that's 2 more people that get protected, leaving 4 people open to pull rocks. So if you plan it right, and have the 2 necklaces on one side along with the 2 hidden immunity idols on one side, and then the one person gets voted on also on that one side, you leave 4 people on the opposite side to pull rocks, and so that kills an alliance. That basically is checkmate right there, where the 5 win out,
Billy,
and the 4 lose.
I'm cutting you off right there. Billy, I'm cutting you out because you're actually going into detail on how I plan to break Survivor when I play it. Because it's actually a slightly different version of that same strategy I figured out.
Very idol in his pocket, but we'll just set everything over the top.
Well, there actually is a verse, and people talk about this in Survivor Nicaragua. There was an instance where Dan could have been voted out without receiving a single vote. So it's that's the one thing, and I think you guys are right. When it comes to all these immunities and advantages, to me, not only does it take away some of the core aspect of Survivor, it also muddies it up so much that we could get like another Pascal instance. We could get another instance where, hey, random fate says you're the one that leaves, and that always leaves a sour feeling in our mouth because no one wants to watch an episode of Survivor where it's like, okay, Patrick, you're gone because this person had this advantage and this person had this. It just doesn't feel right, and I think everyone, fans and casuals alike, kind of agree with that.
I agree. Michelle Yee and Jenny Guzenba are examples of terrible twists where it just felt so random and so wrong that here it is 10 years later and we still feel sour. At least I feel sour about it for these women.
Yeah. Well, I feel sorry too, and Billy, you should feel okay for feeling sorry because they're not going to take your places on the second chance ballot, so you can go ahead. Now, when I get robbed at Final 4, or when I get robbed as like the 4th person voted out, you can get mad at me because I'll take your place, but that's where later.
That's a lofty claim.
Yeah. So you're admitting you would go out
me
4th.
And Billy are going to...
Nice.
You'd never so sure of yourself that you'd make a cuss first boot.
Yeah, we would work together, but if you're gonna go out 4th, dude,
he's gonna drop your ass real fast.
Anyways, enough about my inevitability pre-merge of Survivor List. Let's talk about Joe almost dying. Alicia, you love Joe more than I think you love anything else in this world. Was Survivor just playing up the drama in that moment? Or do you think, Joe had a legitimate problem? And do you think, is Joe okay now? Just talk about Joe. Just talk about Joe. I'm giving you your moment to talk about him because you love him.
I mean, I'm sure Joe's fine. Otherwise, we would have heard about, some crazy medical condition he has or his death. So I'm sure he's great. I don't think he was faking it because he doesn't seem like the very theatrical type. If that was Johnny Fairplay, then yes, I would believe that maybe it was just a little passing out. But, it wasn't. It was Joe, the All-American guy. And I don't know. I actually thought that from the commercial last week, I thought that someone got hit in the head with the idol when it crashed down. So I was just waiting the whole time as I saw the poles go near each other. I was like, oh my God, who's going to get hit in the head? Who's going to bleed? And so... at least that didn't happen because that could have been really, really serious. So, low blood sugar, you can just kind of, survive.
Yeah,
you can wing it off. And
that reminded me of Russell Swan, the way it was set up. The edit of it. It reminded me a lot of the Russell Swan moment. So I think they were trying to maybe reference that moment so that we would say, "Oh no, this is Russell again. He's gonna go out. He's gonna go out," and then he doesn't go out because it kind of felt like it wasn't as not serious as Lacey face planting. That was, but it was just serious enough that we were like, at least I was watching the TV going, "Oh man, that's a terrible way to go out. Like he's never gonna live this down." And then of course he doesn't go out. He just pops back up, and everybody's, "Oh, okay, he's cool."
Yeah. Well, he's Joey Amazing. I imagine it takes more than a little blood sugar to take him out. It takes a bunch of votes at tribal council.
Do you think they gave him a cookie to get his blood sugar up?
I was so wondering if they were gonna like pass him a little candy bar,
like a juice box or something.
Okay.
It looked like he had something he was drinking in his hand, but they didn't show him drinking it.
Oh, really?
This is actually a very good moment of Survivor to talk about. Okay, real
His
quick
lips
Survivor
did
history.
look a little dark. Maybe he
It's
had
a-
like grape juice or something.
Yeah.
Or wine.
They might have given him some type of sugary beverage. But this is something in Survivor history I want to bring up, and I want to hear everyone's opinion on it. Because I have very strong feelings about this. Survivor Heroes versus Villains. Boston Rob passes out. Jeff Probst comes and gives him a bottle of water and says, "Hey, you're good to go now." In my opinion, Jeff Probst should have given every single other person in the game a bottle of water to balance it out. Yay or nay on that idea?
Yeah, Jeff Probst. We all know he has that bromance with Boston Rob. So a bottle of water, and that's what we saw in the edit. I wouldn't be surprised if it included a back rub and foot massage and
A Brandon Hand style back massage.
Vitamins.
yeah, exactly.
But Billy, all jokes aside though, you do get what I'm saying though, that like if Probst is giving Joe Powerade just to keep him in the game, shouldn't everyone else get Powerade to keep the illusion of balance? Or am I just being very dogmatic in my Survivor, like playing like, oh no, it should all be fair, blah blah blah. I'm the same guy who's hating all the twists this season, so.
Well, I'll give you what the contract says. How's that? Everybody gets the same contract, pretty much.
Okay.
And the contract says that we all play under the same rules. If there's anything that goes against the contract, then that constitutes a rule change, not just for that moment, for that one player, but for everybody for the rest of the game. And so and in the rule, it says we don't get help from production. If we do, then we're eliminated from the game. So a bottle of water is help from production. So if he gets a bottle of water, that constitutes a rule change, not just for him in that one moment, but for everybody for the rest of the game. That's what the contract says. That's the rule of the game. So, yeah, everybody should have got water at that point for the rest of the game.
Doesn't the contract also basically say it owns your life and you sign your life away to them?
Oh, yeah, you sign everything but your firstborn, yeah.
So basically they
And
can
sometimes even that.
So just to clarify, if me and Jack are on Survivor, and Jack passes out, and they have to give him, a bunch of water, you think I could actually go up to production and say, "Screw you guys, give me a thing of water too, it says so in the contract," and I'd be well within my rights as a Survivor player to do so?
Yeah, I wouldn't say screw you guys, but I would say, yeah, you can say, can I have water too? I would ask.
Thirsty.
I would say, like, all right, so then we all get water. I'd like some water. That's what I would say.
You don't want it getting ridiculous where people are faking
feel-
injuries to get a snack, and that could be bad.
I would totally do that all the time. I'd be like, "Oh, my shoulder fell off."
Well, isn't that kind of what Tyson did, where he faked an injury so he can get away with stuff? Everything from not working at camp to not having to participate in challenges or play hard at challenges. He understood the rules a little too well, having played for a third time, and he just kind of faked an injury so he can get away with stuff.
Well, he did get injured. He just hammed it up a lot.
Yeah, he's like the only player ever to steal food and get away with it, not be lazy and get away with it, not compete and get away with it. He basically got I maybe I'm biased or something, but I looked at it at that season and I was like, whose producer did he give a BJ to that he gets away with so damn well? which producer,
Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the same one with Kelly Wigglesworth, but that's just all rumors. That's just all rumors and speculation. All right.
Ouch.
I do want to move on a little bit. Keith won immunity. Huzzah. Now, Joe's big pitch to staying in this game was, listen, everybody, Abby Maria is going to make it to the final 3. If she's in the final 3, that means one of you guys is not in the final 3. We need to get rid of her right now because she's a huge waste of space. I kind of agree with Joe. If I'm on that island, there's a very good chance I would probably write down Abby. Well, not for that vote because it's Joe, but for any of the other votes coming up, I probably would have voted down Abby Maria too. And do you guys think that these Survivor players are all, lacking foresight and not getting rid of Abby? Because I think Abby's going to be in the final 3. I'll say it right now. And Alicia, go ahead. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to be in the final 3, but at the same time, she's also someone that people are probably like, oh, we can take care of her whenever. We can, she can be going later. Like, it's one of those.
But isn't that an extremely dangerous position to have?
Oh, it
because
absolutely
it gives her all the
is.
power.
That's how people get to the end. I mean...
Yeah, I give you 2 examples. And Panama, Shane Powers was in that Abby position where everybody's like, okay, we can't keep him around because he's a good guy to take to the end. He's a nut. Yeah, and so they got rid of him, and a decent player, Aris, won, and with Terry Dietz having a shot if he would have won immunity that go around. So it worked out well. On the other hand, Fabio floated, and he was a good guy that everybody said, he's not playing. He's a good guy to take to the end. He goes to the end and he wins. He should have did a Shane and took him out earlier.
And speaking of Fabio, if you want to hear from Holly Hoffman, Jill, and other Survivor Nicaragua players, go ahead and check out the Survivor or the Torch Snuffers Podcast Facebook page and look at player interviews. We also talked with Jimmy Tarantino. Great stuff, and everyone should check that out.
You're stretching it now, Colin.
Are you going to link all these below? So that
that's like a million links.
Listeners don't have to go on a treasure hunt to find all these lovely interviews.
And also, we were one of the first people to talk to Nyanka after the post-game press. So, bam, we also have that interview as well. I guess what I just want to, talk about is Joe was kind of, he was a dead fish. He was done the moment he didn't win immunity, and that's why this episode probably seemed a little lackluster besides the family visit. But, Jack, real quick, do you think Joe should have maybe played up his fainting after it happened? Been like, oh, there's no way I can win immunities. Maybe you guys should keep me. Because that's what I was thinking he should do, is be like, oh, I just can't do anything.
I think they've seen how successful he's been in the season and past season, that he could have been on crutches and they still would have been afraid. He's that good in challenges. I think he played the best. He had the best idea of what to do in that round, which was targeting Abby, given who was immune. Mm-hmm. I don't think he could have gotten away with hamming up his injuries.
Wentworth put it perfectly in Tribal Council. Look, they're willing to pass out and fall to the ground to win immunity. They're hardcore, and so he's not giving up.
I agree.
Yeah, that's really tough.
And I agree as well. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it does seem almost a little boring on our end that Joe left, but we all understand why Joe left. I think Joe probably could have benefited from maybe not playing this season right after playing Worlds Apart, and maybe getting a little bit older. But I really think he did probably the best he could have. And even though I don't really like Joe, and I know Alicia is crying right now over Joe Morin, he did a decent game, and I think we're gonna see him again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One season they're probably going to put together all the Golden Boys and have Joe and Malcolm and Ozzy and all those guys on one tribe.
They're all going to have their long hair.
Rob will be back.
Yeah, probably the next time they do Brains versus Bronze versus Beauty, but with returning players, they'll probably have those 3 on one tribe as the Bronze.
No more Ozzy.
Or it'll be people that Probst has called by their last name on one tribe and first name.
Yeah.
And then the beautiful people on another. I mean, that's gonna happen. Survivor's gonna go on for forever. So, the other last thing I want to talk about, and anyone can jump in on this because I have no idea why. Why did Keith vote for Tasha? Do we know what's going on with that?
He sidestepped the vote. He's trying to say, Joe, I never voted you out. These guys were plotting against you the whole time. You should vote for me as the winner. I think that's what he was doing. That was a terrible Keith
You
impersonation.
think he's that smart?
No, it was great. We heard
He's
it.
that
So
smart.
he's like
that,
doing next level plays, basically, to
yeah,
Yeah.
he's that smart in spots. Like he's not that smart like 39 straight days, but 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. He's that smart, and he'll think of something good, and then he'll do something dumb. But in this moment, he thought of something kind of good because the vote was going to go against Joe no matter what. I think he knew. I think everybody knew that, and so he was trying to sidestepping the vote.
This is the same. Stick to the plan, Keith.
Yeah, same guy.
Exactly.
But I mean, we
Exactly.
haven't really seen him ally with anyone. So does he even really
Know what's going on?
like?
I think he's with
Not
Kimmy.
even know what's going on. Does he
Yeah,
even
I think
have
he's
a
with
way to
Kimmy,
get
and
to
I
the
think he
end?
thinks. Yeah. No. I think people could drag Kimmy to the end if Abby leaves, but I think Keith is this. I think we're gonna talk about this in literally our next question about the finale being rushed, but I think Keith is gonna be 6th or 5th.
I have a question for you four again. If it's Keith, Abby, and Kimmy at the end, who wins?
Keith.
I think Keith.
Oh, Kimmy,
Because he's
Kimmy.
got that resume
No,
of
Kimmy has a
one
sob story
immunity
of the-
challenge win right now.
All right, so we got 2 for Keith,
Kimmy
1
has
for
a sob story of their kid by the edit.
All right. So we got one
Yeah,
more
because
vote.
Kimmy
We
has
need
a
to-
story about her kid.
All right,
Keith has a kid.
kid who likes chicken wings. But all right.
Yeah. No one feels sympathetic for Wesley. Okay. So, the last little bit of Survivor tidbittiness I want to get to tonight is the fact that it was revealed that the finale of this season is going to take place on the 16th. Meaning in 2 short weeks, this season will come to an end. Which means going into the finale, and it has been confirmed, we are going to have a final 6 people. And those 6 people are going to be whittled down to 3. So that means we're going to have 3 tribal councils and a final tribal council. And I guess I just want to air my grievances about the whole idea of this season has been so great and there's been so many crazy turns that to be rushed towards the end like that just feels a little anticlimactic. And I want to hear everyone's thoughts on, the fact that we're going to go into the finale with a final 6 and it's going to be voted to a final 3. So everyone just talk all at once and the loudest person will win.
So I looked at the schedule and I
Go
thought
ahead,
I was
Jack.
confused for a second. It was like, wait, it ends in 2 weeks? Aren't there still 8 people left? I thought I just miscounted. I don't like it when they have so many people at the end. I like when it's 5 or 4 people left in that finale because it's more focus on them as players and going over each of their paths to get there and not just throwing a bunch of people in and see who ends up left.
We know the rites of passage are gone for sure. Or maybe they do a surprise Final Four.
But still,
You
That's
never know.
crazy twist.
there's not going to be a final 4. It's been confirmed. We do know there will not be a final 4.
Okay. Well, I just say this, and I think what they might be doing is compensating for a lack of much going on in the final 6. It might be so not up in the air as to who's going at that point. The final 4 alliance might be so strong that there might be no drama for the first 2 eliminations. So it might just be. It might just be, go through the motions and get to the final 4, and then we see story.
Well, this is something that I'm actually really glad you brought up, Billy, because it's something that I think needs to be pointed out almost every season with Survivor, because we constantly have episodes where 2 people get voted out where all that stuff happens. If you look at it from a television standpoint, though, when a season of a TV show is ordered, especially of Survivor, they don't know when they're filming it how many episodes are going to be played, or they already know how many episodes are going to be ordered, meaning they have to plan for everything in advance. So the idea that, this 6 through 3 boots aren't very good just doesn't make sense from a logistical television standpoint. Because they don't know when they're filming the season that boots 6 through 3 are going to be bad, but they do know they have to, shove them in really quickly. And I mean, we're already on day 31.
Yeah, they could have figured this out. Once the season's filmed, they could figure out what are the slow parts of the season, what are the better parts of the season. So they could have did 2 boots 3 episodes ago and then this last episode, with another 2 boots. But instead they chose the last episode and they're gonna crunch in the 6 and the final 6 in the season finale. So that tells me that they're saying that the boringest part that they could have crunched the boots in was in that final 6 as opposed to earlier.
Oh, that's why.
So you're saying we're going to see the Keith and Kimmy vote, which is what I was talking about earlier. We're going to see the Keith and Kimmy as 6 and 5 real quick because they're the ones that aren't getting any screen time.
That could very well be. In fact, whomever goes in 6 and 5 is probably going to be a pretty standard, boring, nothing shocking, not worthy of an hour. In my opinion, that's what I think is going to play out.
Very, very interesting point. All right, so before we wrap things up, does anyone have any soapboxes or final points they would like to make?
While you guys talk, I'm going to grab that JP picture from my room so I can show it to you guys. How's that?
All right,
I'm going to pull it up.
Ahead.
All right.
Okay, and if no one has anything to say, I do want to say
just...
Alex Cash, a frequent panelist.
What?
Okay, so real quick, Alex Cash wanted to point out that the fact that Abby said the soccer match between Brazil and Germany was really close when in reality it was 7-1, and it was funny that Abby didn't know that. Okay, Jack, go ahead with your fun facts.
So I read online that like Cass's loved one was actually Jatia, so we could have seen that. Like
What?
Spencer's backup was Garrett, and Tasha's backup was David. So theoretically, we could have had like the entire Luzon tribe at the family visit.
God.
Is there any reason behind that?
I think they were just like fooling around. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, let me see if I can position
And
here.
look at that picture.
Can you see it there?
Yes.
And everyone, for all you listeners out there, I am currently looking at a picture of JP from Survivor Cook Islands with a J and a P written so eloquently on his man boobs. Or his chiseled chest, as I think Alicia would say it.
That's terrible. So
Billy,
that whole day
my
got
only question to you is,
scrapped.
why do you have such easy access to that picture is my only question.
Me? Because it's me.
All right. Very interesting stuff, and we have a lot of good stuff, and I think we have a lot more left in this season, even though there's only 2 episodes left, and that just feels wrong to me. But I want to thank everyone out there so much for listening. I want to thank Alicia, Patrick, and Jack for joining us, and I want to give a special thanks to Billy for not only joining us tonight, but also being so kind to us on social media. But please do not take that as a cue, Billy, to be like, at Colin Connors, you kind of suck a little bit. I need all the Twitter followers I can get. All right. So I want to thank everyone and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.